Hey everyone, welcome back to our series of videos on making a computer for Dr. Mindbender, the G.I. Joe classified series figure. Now, this is part 6, and it very well may be the last one that I do. I'm hoping that I can do this. Now, I said that part 5 was going to be a little bit shorter, and I actually think it ended up being my longest video of the series. So, I do want to make this one just a little bit shorter. So, here we go. In this particular video, what we are going to do is we are going to round off the edges on these computer screens to make them just a little bit more, just a little bit look like more, less boxy. We're also going to raise everything up. I'll show you that here in just a second and the reason why. And then we're also going to put a Cobra symbol down here on the base. So let's go to Fusion 360 and start to do that. So here we go. Now, a couple of things before I really get started. I want to say, like all these videos, I am very much a beginner. I am not an expert, so I'm kind of learning along the way. And the other thing that I would say is if you haven't watched some of the other videos before this one, I would recommend that you go and watch those before you watch this one so that you get a little bit more insight into what we're doing here. So this is what we have at this point in time. Now, the first thing I want to do is this. If I zoom excuse me, if I zoom in, you can tell that the computer keyboard area and this table are just way too close to each other. We didn't want that to happen. That's not what we're looking to do. So this is what I'm going to do. I also think that the keyboard is too low. So we're going to take this entire screen, set of screens and the keyboard, and we are going to extend this base, to make it taller. So here's what we need to do. I'm going to go to bodies, open that up, and click on screen stand. And that's everything that's in blue now. Now I want to move this up and then extend the base. So I'm going to right click and choose move copy. Now I want to move it. So I'm going to move it. And then it gives me these tools right here. So I want to move the whole thing. I'm going to grab this arrow right here and I want to move the whole thing up, and it'll move up by 10 millimeters at a time. So I've moved it up 30, and I want to make sure that I've got enough clearance for that table. And that actually looks pretty good right there. If I move it up 30, let's see what happens if I move it up. Well, that was 50. Whoop. Let's change that to 40 and let's see what it looks like at 40. Okay, zoom in a little bit more, pan down this way a little bit. I actually think I like 40 just a little bit better. So I have raised this up 40. Let's take a look at what 50 looks like. And that's not too bad either. I think actually I'm going to go with that. I think I'm going to go with 50. So let's go with that. I'm going to click OK. And now that whole piece has been moved up 50. Now you may say, well, why are we moving it up 50? Well, we are now going to zoom in a little bit. We're going to extend this part of the base. At the bottom, we're going to extend it down 50. We're going to extrude it down 50 so that it fits right into that little notch right there. We've got that little notch for this. So let's do that. Well, I'm trying to look at it and this base is in the way. So I'm going to come over here to the left, click on the little eyeball for base so that it disappears. It's not gone, it's just invisible. And I'm going to click on the extrude button. If you're not familiar with the extrude button, then you really need to go back and watch some of those other videos, and just find anything on YouTube, really. Now, I raised everything up by 50, so now I'm just going to extend this by 50. And I do want to join it to the original piece. I click OK, and there we go. Now, hopefully, when I bring back and show the base, there it is. Now I've got what I'm looking for. So there we go. I'm liking that a lot better. You can have your figure stand in front of this. You've got room to put some things on the table if you need to. Everything looks better. I think that'll work out. Now, if for some reason that's not the right height, then I'll just come in and adjust it again after I 3D print it and print it again. Okay, so let's go ahead and round off some of the edges. I did this in one of my previous videos with this screen up at the top. You can see how these corners are rounded off. So that's what we're looking to do with all these other screens. Let's start off with this screen over on the right hand side right here. So the tool that I'm going to use, it's already one of the tools right up at the top, is the fillet, or I think that's the way you pronounce it, the fillet tool. You could also click right there and click on fillet. So there we go. And I want to select all of these corner edges. So right there. And then I want to also select this one down at the bottom. So I'm going to hold down the shift key, select that one. I'm going to rotate around this way, select that one, and then finally this one. There we go. You can grab this arrow if you choose to, and you can move it in and out. But I'm just going to type some things in. I'm going to type in 1 millimeter and see what that looks like. I actually think that looks perfect. That's exactly what I think I did on this original one, or the one up at the top. So I like the way that looks. If I zoom in on it right here, you can see that it's been rounded off. I'm going to click OK. And there we go. Let's do the same thing with these other screens. Tell you what, let's go with the one on the left next. So fillet, select, hold down the shift key, select, orbit around, select, and oh, I chose that one and I did not want to do it. So I want to deselect it, and then by clicking on it again and then select. There we go. Now in blue, you can see I've got the 4 corners that I want. 1 millimeter is good. Click OK. And now I get the big screen in the middle. All right. Start with these 2 edges over here. Fillet. Oh, bring it over so I can see. Select. Hold down the shift key. Select. Orbit around. Hold down the shift key, select, and one more, select. Click on 1, OK. And now, once again, I've got the rounded corners that I want. So there we go. All right. I like the way that's looking. I guess the next question I have is, do I want to do that same thing with the corners of the keyboard? I'm not sure, but let's just take a look and see. So let's go fillet. And I'll choose this one first, and this one, that one, orbit around, and that one. There we go. Change it to 1, kind of zoom in on it, and I think that looks pretty good, actually. Okay. It's not quite as sharp, but I think that just that one little bit makes it look just a little bit nicer. So I'm going to click OK. And there we go. All right. So now I've got everything looking pretty much the way that I want it to look. And the last thing I want to do is I want to put a little Cobra symbol down here. So let's do that right now. Well, one of the things that you need to do if you want to, like, this is how I did this. Let me start that over. I started off by looking for a Cobra symbol just online. Okay, go right here, just searched for it. G.I. Joe Cobra symbol, or logo. I guess you could say logo as well. There we go. So go to images, and you've got a lot of different images that you can look at. Now, one thing that I like to do is Also, look for it as a PNG file. Okay, there we go. So this, I think, is the one that I actually used. I just used a black PNG file. I downloaded this, but you cannot just use it. You cannot just take this picture and put it onto a design if you want to actually cut it into the piece. And that's what we want to do. So what I did was I took this and I converted it. Let's go back to Fusion 360. I converted it into an SVG file. So I had to take my PNG, I converted it, and there are a number of different free online converters that you can find. Just type in convert PNG to SVG, and you'll be able to do that. And so that's what I did. And we are going to, and the reason why we have to do that is because if you convert it to an SVG, you can then change it into, it can become a sketch. And that's what we want. So I have already done all of that work. So I'm going to insert an SVG and it's going to say, okay, where do you want to get it from? I'm going to click on insert from my computer. I got to remember where I put this. I think it's, yep, there it is. It's in my downloads, Cobra symbol.svg. So I'm going to click on that one. And it wants to know, what plane do you want to put it on? Well, I want it to be on this base, on the top of this base. So I'm going to click right on top of the base. And it gives me that. Now there's a couple of things. If I zoom out, you can see there's the SVG that I have, but it's not in the right spot. And there's a bunch of things that are in the way. So I'm going to hide the left table. I'm going to hide the riser. I'm going to hide the screen stand. Now I can do different things with this. First thing I want to do is I want to turn it around 90 degrees or 180 degrees, excuse me. There we go. And it's too large for the base, so I want to scale it down. So I'm going to use that tool right there and scale it down. That looks pretty good. And then this square right here allows me to just move it around wherever I want. So I want to get it right in the middle. And I think it's still just a little bit too large, so I'm going to scale it down just a little bit more. That looks like a good size. I'm going to center it on, I'm going to try to center it on that green line as best I can. I think that looks pretty good. And there we go. Now you'll notice that over here, it says sketch palette and it says finish sketch. So when I click on this, finish sketch, now that SVG file has become a sketch for me. Now it's in green. Normally you see those sketches in blue. There's a good look at it, but it's in green. Now what I want to do is I want to take this symbol and I want to cut it into the piece. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit and I'm going to click on extrude. And I want to highlight each one of these pieces of this Cobra symbol. So I'm going to click once. It's now highlighted in blue. Hold down the shift key and click on the teeth, the fangs. There we go. And then I need to click on every single one as I hold down the shift key, every single one of these pieces in the middle. This one gets a little bit tough to do, so I want to zoom in a little bit. There we go. Let's get this one. Take your time in doing this to make sure that you get the parts that you want. Zoom out a little bit. Pan over a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of lag in my computer, but that's okay. Select all of these. There we go. I think I have everything that I want. So, yep, I've got the outside, I've got all the pieces in the middle, and I've got the fangs as well. So I'm going to cut this into this. So I'm going to go with negative, and I think I want to go -2. Highlight this right here. I want to go -2. Now I'm going, Don't understand why it didn't do that. Let's try that again. -2. I typed it in the wrong spot. There we go. I think -2 is a good deep cut because my goal eventually for this is to paint this. And so the paint can kind of just fill in the trough, if you will. So it'll be nice. So I think that looks good. I'm going to click on OK. And there we go. There is my um, there's my Cobra symbol. Zoom out a little bit. Cut into the base of this computer terminal. And that is it. I am finally finished. This is the last part of this video series. Maybe one day I'll come back and revisit it, but I really like the way that this looks. I will make another video after I get this 3D printed. I'll make another video just kind of showing off what it looks like. And maybe eventually one day I'll come back and make some different things to go into these cutout spots as well. I don't know what I'm going to do, but we'll see. When I when I print this, when I go to print this, I'm going to save each one of these pieces, the base, the left table, the riser, and the screen stand. I'm going to save each one of those as an STL file and then 3D print them from there. Now you may be wondering, well, how do you do that? So let's just do one of these. Let's start with the base. I'll just do this for one of them. So if I highlight the base, I can right click on it, and over here it will say save as mesh. And that's what I want to do. So I'm going to click on save as mesh. And then over here on the right, it gives me some options. I'm going to save it as an STL file. I click OK. This is kind of the default, at least it is for me. I'm going to click OK. And then I can save it. And I've got a bunch of other things saved over here. I'll just call this Mindbender Computer Base. Click on save. And now I have the STL file ready to be put through my slicer and 3D printed. I do think what I'm going to end up doing initially is 3D printing the base and the two tables, these two side tables, in filament just to see how it all looks. And then the computer terminal itself, the stand with all the screens and everything, eventually what I think I'm going to do is 3D print that in resin because it's kind of an awkward shape. And I'm not sure that that'll turn out great in filament. It might be okay, but I'm going to have quite a few, um, quite a few, um, not stands, supports, excuse me, quite a few supports on that. But I don't know, we'll see. Once I get this 3D printed, I will show off some pictures both on Instagram. I would love it if you'd follow me on Instagram. I am Star Wars Makes Things Better. I know that's super long, but at Star Wars Makes Things Better. And then I would love it if you would uh, share this, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Let's go back to it's a nice little picture to end with. So like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. That would be wonderful if you would do that. And hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you enjoyed this series. If you've made it this far, then you've probably enjoyed at least to a certain extent or have learned some things along the way. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me any questions in the comments. That way we can share together and learn together. And hopefully you have a great day.